Objection is sustained.
Did he have to talk to you?
Some of the best confessions I've ever gotten were from a defense attorney. So he spoke to me.
Not this defense attorney. Okay.
Well, he still confessed on the call. So
I mean, there are defense attorneys and defense attorneys, right? Okay. So let me say this: as a result of some of the information you got, did you give that statement that he gave you? Did you give that to who was investigating the financial crimes?
That was a joint operation out of our office. There were several agents that were involved.
But no agent in charge like Mr. Owens?
There was an agent.
The case seemed to be about a shocking roadside shooting, but investigators soon realized that something about Alex Murdaugh's story didn't add up. What happened next turned the investigation into a psychological game, as agents began testing his story with evidence they believed could expose the truth. And when one seemingly simple photograph of a truck became part of the interrogation strategy, the entire narrative started to unravel. So what did investigators already know? And how did they use it to challenge Murdaugh's story? ****.
I could read it if it says.
Okay, let me publish part to you and see what you think. Left posterior parietal subdural hematoma with adjacent blood products. What do you think that means? What's a subdural hematoma?
Obviously, it's a bleeding on the subdural part of his head, so it
would be a brain bleed.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. It says linear left posterior parietal bone fracture. That would be a fractured skull.
Yes.
Okay. Scalp laceration overlying the left parietal bone. That would be that furrow I'm talking about, right?
If that's what you infer to, I'm not a doctor. I mean, furrow is, I can only testify what it states on the page.
And attending radiologist reviewed all the images and agrees with the interpretation. So radiologist looked and saw brain bleed, saw a subdural hematoma, saw a fractured skull, and made findings consistent with a bullet wound to the head. Did they not?
The medical professionals reviewed his charts and his tests. They came to that opinion. We refer to them as it relates to their findings.
I'm sorry, refer to them what?
We refer to them as it relates to their findings. If that's what they determined happened,
okay.
We refer to them.
So he had real injuries.
There was a laceration on the back of his head that was consistent with a gunshot wound.
This creates an important complication for the investigation. If Murdaugh really had a head wound and fractured skull, his original claim of being attacked could initially appear believable. The defense can use that fact to suggest that investigators should have been more cautious about questioning him immediately. But there's another side to this. A real injury doesn't automatically make the entire story true. The key question becomes: who caused the injury, and was Murdaugh telling investigators the truth about what happened? That distinction is crucial because the case wasn't simply about whether Murdaugh had been injured, it was about whether the story surrounding that injury was fabricated. The medical evidence therefore creates uncertainty at first, but it doesn't resolve the larger mystery.
Kelly acknowledged that Mr. Murdaugh sustained a real, substantial wound to his head, a fact that initially corroborated Murdaugh's account and made his claim of being shot appear reliable. Under the statutory mandate of South Carolina Code of Laws Annotated 23-3-15, SLED possesses exclusive statewide jurisdiction over complex general criminal investigations. When an individual claims a gunman is at large, law enforcement is duty-bound under state police powers to exhaustively verify the facts, track ballistics, and scan the area for a threat. Stopping an investigation because a victim has an injury would be a failure of public duty. SLED was constitutionally and professionally obligated to execute its investigative protocol to uncover who actually pulled the trigger and ensure the community was safe, which ultimately exposed that the story was a fraud. Here, Agent Kelly.
This is where the investigation begins to change direction. Initially, Murdaugh is treated as the victim of a roadside shooting. But investigators have a duty to verify his story rather than simply accept it. That becomes especially important when evidence begins contradicting what he told them. This is a powerful storytelling moment because the audience can see the transformation happening. Victim witness questionable witness potential suspect. The investigation isn't solved by one dramatic piece of evidence. Instead, investigators gradually discover that the story they're being told doesn't fit the evidence. That gradual shift is what makes this section compelling.
The story that he told us was not true, and we wanted to take that as an opportunity to try to make some sense out of the investigation, given that you and Mr. Griffith were there saying he was ready to tell us really what happened.
So he, through his attorneys, reached out to you to give this recorded statement we saw.
On the 13th, you called me, yes.
Right. And secondly, he admitted that he had stolen money, right?
Yes.
He admitted drug use.
Yes.
And he admitted that he'd lied, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of that statement, he was charged with insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and
This exchange is important because the defense is attacking the reliability and thoroughness of the investigation. Harputlian's strategy is clear: if investigators fail to independently verify seemingly important details, perhaps they also failed to properly investigate other parts of the case. The tension comes from the contrast between the lawyer's confidence and Kelly's cautious answers. Kelly refuses to claim something he can't personally establish. That makes this scene particularly useful for video editing because it has a natural courtroom confrontation. Defense press's agent refuses to overstate defense press's harder judge intervenes. It feels less like a routine question and answer session and more like a battle over credibility.
Objection is sustained.
did he have to talk to you?
Some of the best confessions I've ever got were from a defense attorney. So he spoke to me.
Not this defense attorney, okay?
Well, he still confessed on the call. So
I mean, there are defense attorneys and defense attorneys, right? Okay. So let me say that.
This is where the roadside shooting story begins to completely collapse. Think about the progression. At first, Murdaugh says he was the victim. Then investigators discover inconsistencies. Then Murdaugh voluntarily speaks with them. And during that conversation, he acknowledges that he lied. That is a dramatic reversal. The defense tries to frame his cooperation as evidence that he was willing to come clean. But the prosecution can view the same cooperation very differently. He was only admitting the truth after investigators had already begun uncovering contradictions. That distinction is extremely important.
Okay. And that he wouldn't be competent to communicate until he'd been, there was some hospital records, maybe I walked away. He would not be competent to speak with you until the doctor said he was competent, right?
On the morning of, on the September 4th incident, he consumed opioids that morning. He was not detoxing or coming off those drugs. He did not appear to be under the influence of any narcotics. When we met with him in the hospital, he was on his cell phone, he was walking, he was talking, he was coherent. He was the victim of a crime, the only witness that we were aware of for that crime. So we obtained a statement from him so he could tell us what happened.
You would concede he'd been shot in the head. I don't want to plow old ground, but he had a head wound, fractured skull.
Asked and answered.
Objection is sustained.
Okay. Did you ask a doctor if he was competent to speak with you?
Again, those medical records, the doctors would
That's
not.
not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you talked to a doctor and said, is he competent to talk to us? Did you do that?
Mr. Harputlian,
Would you just say yes or no, and we can move
I'd
on?
like to ask the witness allowed to answer the question and object to the form.
Let me answer the question, yes or no.
could you repeat the question?
Did you speak to one of his physicians or any medical personnel and ask them if he was competent to speak with you in the hospital?
I did not.
Okay. Now let's look at part of the records that are in evidence. And there was drug testing done on this day, correct?
Again, they did not discuss with me his medical records. Mr. Harputlian, they didn't talk to me about his medical records.
And you didn't ask them, did you?
Did
You ask them?
The testing that was
Did
being
you
done-
ask them?
We did not ask to discuss
Okay.
specific aspects of Mr. Murdaugh's medical condition. We had to subpoena the records with a court order to have access to them. They will
So,
not discuss openly his medical records with us.
did you ask a that's repetitive, but if you had asked a doctor, they would have told you, according to these records, that he was positive for barbiturates and positive for opioids, would they not?
They would have told us they,
Objection sustained.
Were you, according to the records that are in evidence, were you aware that he was on opioids and he had a positive test for opioids and benzos?
once we have subpoenaed,
Would you please answer the yes or no?
once we got the records,
Would
we
you
learned
answer
of,
yes or no?
Your Honor, I would object to him badgering the witness. The witness is entitled to answer the question.
You may respond as you see fit. Go ahead.
at the time of September 4th, we did not ask the medical doctors or the medical professionals any information about his condition because they would not discuss it with us. So if I had asked, they would not have discussed it. So we did not ask. When we obtained the medical records,
The defense is attempting to challenge the idea that Murdaugh could have manipulated the investigation. The argument is essentially, if he was locked up, how could he have interfered with the case? But the judge doesn't allow the defense to turn that argument into a broader appeal to the jury. This is another example of the courtroom becoming a strategic chess match. The defense is constantly trying different ways to weaken the prosecution's portrayal of Murdaugh, while the judge repeatedly determines which arguments the jury is actually allowed to consider.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, so he's been in jail since October 16th.
Objection 401, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
Well, what opportunity has he had since October 16th of 2021 to manipulate witnesses, to manipulate evidence, to manipulate anything in this case? What opportunity? Go ahead.
There's an objection.
I'm sorry,
Basis for
what's
the-
this objection?
Objection 401, Your Honor.
And response.
Well, Your Honor, no question he's been in jail since October 16th.
Your legal response to the objection.
I don't
The
understand.
401 is the objection, relevance, and your response.
My response is that they have him, they're trying to portray him as this manipulative
Your Honor.
person, and he's not got the ability to manipulate anything after October 16th.
This gives the story a larger perspective. What began as a roadside shooting investigation became connected to a much larger criminal investigation involving Murdaugh's finances, deception, and ultimately the murders of Maggie and Paul. The larger lesson is that the roadside shooting wasn't an isolated incident. It became another piece of the broader investigation into Murdaugh's increasingly complicated web of lies. For your video, however, I would not place this section early. Save it for the conclusion, because revealing the later outcome too soon will reduce suspense.